Wow, I already drank that whole shake? It was it was 3 years ago during the annual Tucson shows that a fellow gem cutter told me that he had found one of the Montana Sapphire miners who was in town and selling sapphire rough. I went to see the seller who sells his sapphires, quote, from mine to market. He was sharing a booth at one of the gem shows, and I was able to pick up a small parcel of unheated sapphire rough as well as a larger parcel of heated sapphire rough from him. I probably won't make a video of cutting the parcel of heated sapphire rough, which is the larger of the parcels, as that video would pretty much be a repeat of this one. I don't think you'd get any value out of it. I did pick up about twice as much unheated rough as I'm showing here, but one of our New York gem seller friends who displays and sells cut gemstones and finished jewelry at the GJX show, he was interested in the unheated sapphire rough that I had acquired. So I ended up, as a favor, splitting my lot with him. And don't worry, he repaid me 1,000 times over for that favor later on. He has allowed BOPIE, my wife, to buy his inventory. He was working on a project of designs, jewelry designs, pendants, and earrings in 14 karat gold. And he had decided not to continue that project. He has a lot of irons in the fire. And the mountings that he had already prepared already have melee small diamonds already set in the mountings, some of which are white gold, some are yellow gold. They're all 14 karat. Some might be 18 karat. So they're all ready to go. They just need a gemstone. He had his project, he had set them with crystal, colored crystal. And when he decided not to pursue it, he went to the, as happens in the jewelry industry, to the refiners to, melt the gold, recover the diamonds. And the price they offered him didn't make him very happy. So he went to BOPIE and said, you know what, you can have it at the same price that the refiners would have had, and they're all ready to go. So it was a good deal for us. We bought up that lot. It's all ready to go. And it was an awesome deal. So in a future video, I'll cut one gemstone for one of those mountings in the future and replace the crystal stone, and then we'll have the mounting all ready to go that we purchased basically for scrap prices. Anyway, back to our Montana Sapphires. A lot of people prize Montana Sapphires. A lot of people prize Australian Sapphires. Some people like the Ceylon Sapphires, but Montana Sapphires are unique, and so I was happy to be able to pick up a handful during the Tucson show. I haven't seen this rough dealer in Tucson since then, and believe me, I've looked, so I haven't been able to get more Montana Sapphire rough, and certainly not at the price that I was able to purchase it at 3 years ago. It's always something at Tucson that's available that you kind of got to pick it up when it's there. When it's there, it won't be there the next year. That's kind of the moral of the Tucson shows. So I have 5 pieces of unheated Montana Sapphire rough, ranging from 3.5 carats to 5.5 carats in weight, and I've been wanting to cut them for a while now. So let's cut them. In the summer of 2017, GIA published an article in their Gems and Gemology magazine, volume 52, number 2, and the article is titled Big Sky Country Sapphire, Visiting Montana's Alluvial Deposits. And in that article, they discuss the sapphire deposits of Montana and the locations of the deposits. Now, I'll be using Jeff Graham's simple Portuguese design to cut these sapphires. I have provided this design in several other videos, so I won't cover the design in detail here. I will say that for me, for round gemstones, I prefer the Portuguese cut, which has between 145 and 161 facets on the gemstone, depending on the particular Portuguese design. And this is many times the number of facets that a standard round brilliant gemstone has, and all those little facets act like mirrors, and to me, they make a stunning gemstone. It's my favorite round gemstone design. Jeff posted several dozen great designs on his Now Gone website for any cutter to use. And I explained in a previous video how to go back in time using the Wayback Machine software to visit Jeff's Now Gone site. You can get all of his free designs as well as read his gem cutting articles, as he was a prolific writer on the topic. And here's a link to that video where I show you how to go to Jeff's now gone website if you're interested. And I would recommend you visiting this old site, downloading the several dozen of his designs that he put into the website for any cutter to use, and as well as reading all those old articles that Jeff wrote related to gem cutting. Excellent articles. As I stated, I won't go into detail here on how to read a gem faceting diagram. I did prepare a two-part video a while back explaining how you can understand all the information in those gem faceting diagrams. So I'll just give you the link here to those videos. If you're a new cutter and you don't understand the designs, you may be interested in going. But if you are, just look at those videos. So now let's get to cutting our Montana Sapphire. And I finished the bottom half of the pavilion of a second Sapphire. So I've been using, because they're reasonably small, not extra large gemstones, I start out with about a 320 grit topper, and it's because their corundum's hard, so I need something kind of rough. And I go over that quickly, and then I go to my 12M, and from there I've been going to 3000 grit diamond on a bat lap, and then I'm polishing them up with 50,000 grit diamond on a bat lap for now. I may try different laps with some of the other ones, but that seems to be working right through with those sequences going right through these gemstones. So let me put another gemstone on the top or on the in my machine and cut the bottom half fit. Okay, and this is the third Sapphire, Montana Unheated Sapphire that I'll be cutting. And I was looking at a design. I was thinking it might be a square or possibly a rectangle, but then when I look through this part, there's a lot of junk here, and some of it's internal, some of it's on the surface, but some of it's internal. And the more I looked, and as best I can tell and examined it as best I could, I think at the end of the day this one really fits a round. So I'm going to cut a round design with this stone as I did with the earlier ones. So I'm going to use my 320 and preform it. Okay, I've gone over our gemstone with 3000 grit diamond on a bat lap. And so for this stone, for the pavilion, I'm going to try out my 100,000 grit diamond bat stick from Gearloose. So I'm going to use 100,000 grit diamond on a bat lap that I have for that. I haven't used it in a while, so I just want to see how that works with polishing this sapphire with 100,000 grit, see if it's any better or noticeably better than 60K. Okay, I went ahead and polished this pavilion of this sapphire with 100,000 grit diamond on a bat lap, and it polished right up, looks great, but I honestly can't tell the difference between a 60,000 grit polish and a 100,000 grit polish. So I don't know, maybe other people can. If you can, let me know in the comments. And I do know people that use that polish sapphire with like 15,000 grit, and that's as far as they go. And I think it has, corundum being hard, I think that has something to do with it. But I'll continue with my next stone, but 100,000 grit diamond on the bat lap after 3,000 grit diamond pre-polish worked just fine. But I'm still thinking 60,000 grit diamond is the way to go for me. So on to the next stone. Okay, this is my fourth sapphire of the 5. And for this one, I'm ready to polish the pavilion of the bottom half. And for this one, I'm going to use my zinc lap and a 60,000 grit diamond bat stick to polish it. And I didn't want to use 100K diamond because there's a little bit, tiny bit, I have to move this this bottom down a little bit because there's still a little bit of an inclusion that was in the stone, little chip right there that's just about to go away. But I need to move the facets just a tiny bit. And I don't want to move the facets in on the sides because that'll make the stone smaller. We want to make it as big as possible, especially for sapphire corundum, which is a relatively expensive rough. So zinc this time. We're going to try zinc, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, and this is our fourth sapphire of the 5 no heat Montana Sapphires. And this one, the Pavilion polished up fine with 60,000 grit diamond on a zinc lap. My feeling is that the bat lap so far, I just feel like I have better control over it. It works a little better in moving the facets. Although the 100,000 grit diamond on a bat lap worked, the 60,000 grit diamond on the zinc lap worked. I just felt more comfortable with the bat lap, but I think next I'll try a copper lap on the next side of the next stone that I cut. All right, so this is the fifth sapphire, my Montana Unheated Sapphires, the 5th of the 5, and this one I'm ready to start polishing the Pavilion, and I'm going to use. I think this one I'll just use a copper lap and a 60,000 grit diamond and see how that works out. I've polished a number of other sapphires, not with this parcel, but other ones with copper, and it works very well. So let's see how the copper turns out. Okay, the results of my copper lap and a 60,000 grit diamond bat stick was that it polished the Pavilion part of this sapphire right up. And so now I'll transfer the stone and cut the upper half of my 5 sapphires. Okay, so I'm ready to polish the upper part or the crown of our first Montana Sapphire. So I'm going to use my dark side lap, which is a composite lap. I haven't used it in a while, and I'll use that with 60,000 grit diamond and see how that works. Just kind of see if it works at all, but I just haven't used it in quite a while. So let's give it a try. Okay, our first sapphire is polished up, and I finished polishing the upper half with 60,000 grit diamond on a bat lap. I was trying the dark side, but it didn't work. But after I switched laps to the bat, then I thought of a way I might want to work a different technique I may try with the dark side. So I'm going to retest the dark side with one of my other stones. I just want to figure a way to get it to work and polish these sapphires right up. So I'll keep working with it, but on this stone it did not work. So now we're ready for the next stone. Okay, I polished up the second of our Montana Unheated Montana Sapphires. I used the bat lap with 60,000 grit diamond again. So let me go ahead and soak this one in acetone, get it off the DOP, and work on the upper half of our third Montana Sapphire. Okay, we finished polishing up the third of our Montana Sapphire. So I still have to polish the table on this one, so I'll remove it from our machine, set it up to cut the table, and we'll see how this one looks. All right, so the table polished right up with 60,000 grit diamond on a bat lap. So now I'll soak this stone in acetone to remove the adhesive from the DOP, and we'll start on our the upper half of our fourth Montana Sapphire. Okay, I finished polishing up the upper half of our fourth Unheated Montana Sapphire. So now I'll set the stone up and my machine up to cut the table, and I'll show you how to set it up to cut the table with an Ultratech. Okay, the first thing we're going to want to do is remove our DOP from our spindle by loosening up our DOP retention screw and taking it out. Now, for a long time, I used to go ahead and remove this brass retention screw, and there's a place in the Ultratech machine that's built for where you can put it into. It's right here. I'll show you. So right here you could screw your DOP retention screw into this part of the machine, just so you don't lose it, because it's a little tiny brass screw, and easy to lose. So that's built to house your brass retention screw once you remove it from the your index. However, what I do now is I just screw it in so that the it's in, and then it's not going to get lost, not going to go anywhere. And then my 45-degree angle that I'm going to use to cut my table slides right over. So there's no need to take the dop retention screw out. Okay, we want to then set our angle at 45 degrees because this is a 45-degree tabling adapter, and 45 and 45 gives us a 90-degree angle, which means the stone is going to cut at the 90-degree and make a flat table. So you slide your 45-degree tabling adapter in, and then the only thing you have to make sure is that that you're flat and not, too far one way or the other way. And so the way you do that is with this tool called the table aligner. So that gives you plenty of space, all this base, to make sure that you're flat and not, you're not too far to one side or the other. And I turn it at a little bit of an angle so that I have more space between this side and this side to make even more certain that I'm absolutely flat with my when I put my stone in. So then we just tighten up the two set screws in the 45-degree tabling adapter and remove the aligner, and then we're set to cut the table on the gemstone. So then I just take my my stone and dop and slide it in. Everything's already set up, and tighten up the set screw, and we're ready to cut the gemstone. Now it doesn't matter which index tooth you set your index at. I put mine just out of habit at the 96 index tooth, but it doesn't matter. So now we're set to cut our table. Okay, the table polished right up on our 4th Montana Sapphire. So now we'll switch out stones and cut our final Montana Sapphire. Okay, I polished the upper half of our final Montana Sapphire using 60,000 grit diamond on a bat lap, and now I'll set up my dop and my machine so I can cut and polish the table, and then we'll see how all 5 of them look. Okay, I've finished polishing the table on our final Montana Sapphire, and you can see on the table there's a fracture internal to the stone that does reach the surface on the table. But that's the last of the 5 sapphires, so I'm going to soak this one in the acetone and remove it from the dop so we can take a look at all 5 of them. Okay, in this video I cut all of my unheated Montana Sapphires, all 5 of them. They turned out great except for the last one, which gave me a bit of a problem because it had inclusions and it ended up being smaller than I had planned, but that's sometimes the way it goes. The sapphires cut and polished easily. I was able to experiment with a number of laps to polish sapphire. My go-to lap, I think for now at least, is 60,000 grit diamond on a bat lap, but I did experiment with a number of laps. I started off on all these sapphires with a 320 grit topper, and then I went to my 12M, which is about a 1,500 grit lap. Then I used the 3,000 grit diamond on a bat lap and to pre-polish, and then I went to polish with a number of laps. I polished with 60,000 grit diamond on a bat lap, 100,000 grit diamond on a bat lap, 60,000 grit diamond on a zinc lap, 60,000 grit diamond on a copper lap. All of that worked. And then I tried 60,000 grit on my dark side, but I wasn't really happy with the results there. I still need to spend more time with this lap, I think, to get it so that it's polishing the way it needs to be. Now, I have decided to upgrade my laps this year by one. I have ordered a 600 grit sintered lap from the Ukraine. If it works out, I'll stop using 600 grit topper laps. But for those of you who are new and on a budget, I would not recommend you start out with a sintered lap. They're expensive. I'd recommend that for 600 grits cutting and rougher, you work with topper laps. They're much more economical while you're on a budget. You can always upgrade later to sintered laps. Anyway, please let me know in the comments what you think of my unheated sapphire gemstones. And as always, happy fasting, everyone.